Realtors, thinking about joining a team? John Carter here. I'm the broker and owner at RE/MAX River City in Edmonton.
I'm Shane Parent. I'm the associate broker and owner at RE/MAX River City.
So we want to talk a little bit about today joining a team. So what do you look for in joining a team? What kind of different structures are out there? There's a lot of teams in the market, and teams are actually one of the biggest trends in our industry right now. They're growing a lot, and there's a lot of discussion at some of the international conferences and that we go to with RE/MAX and with other training programs we're part of. So Shane actually runs a team himself and has been part of several different team models over his 15 plus year career now.
Yep.
So we just wanted to kind of ask some of the common questions that we get from agents either newer to the industry or thinking about joining a team. So
versus just being on their own.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, versus working on their own, or we also have a mentorship program with our office that's sort of like a hybrid between the two options. So, so most commonly, what's the most common kind of team model?
I mean, interesting question. Right now, I think that there's 4 kind of main team models. You see the partnership model. And so often they could be, good buddies that are working together, trying to split on things 50-50. You see the spouses or the brother-sister, there's some of that out there.
Like family
partnerships.
Those parents and their child too is a common one.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, the successor, that type of thing. So those can be good. I think the friends one is a bit of a difficult one to keep long-term for sure. I think there's pros and cons with all the models. The second one I would call the Master-minion model. It's definitely a machine. You have
so can you define that a bit? Like, what's the Master-minion?
Yeah, and I mean not in a negative way, but it's a model. There's a clear lead, team lead. They're the salesperson. They're the rainmaker. They can generate leads, and they need people pumping out and working the leads. There can be a high level of training there, high level of accountability still, but it's definitely a numbers model. And again, pros and cons to that. The third model, I would call it more of a collaborative model. And so in that situation, the team would be buying and selling, and maybe the team lead isn't necessarily the main rainmaker, but there's more just accountability, mentorship, coaching, and that type of thing.
Okay. And
then it's, like I said, it's more collaborative in that way. And then the fourth one is becoming more popular right now, is more of, it's by appearance is an independent agent, but they have a really strong support team under them. And they're not doing the babysitting. They're not looking to take on a lot of extra people, but they have staff that have clearly defined, so like jobs.
Unlicensed or sometimes licensed assistants, but they'll have 3 or 4 administrative staff supporting them behind the scenes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So what would you say, that's a great summary of kind of the 4 types. So what's the most common if you're looking to join a team, what should their expectations be for one on the costs or like fee splits?
Okay.
And then secondly, what should they ask of that potential team when they're interviewing? And it's a 2-way interview. That's a common one we always highlight to people. This is a 2-way interview. You got to be interviewing them as a team leader or as a team in general to say, what do you bring of value for me?
Yeah.
And then also, what are your expectations of me? Whether it's time commitment or production commitment or database commitments. That's a common one we see where people get upset later finding out that the team has kept their contacts and their database, so being really clear about some of those things.
Yeah, and having written agreements in those situations is not as common as you would expect, but you're entering into a business arrangement. You should have a written agreement with that, so there's clear expectations laid out. I think that's important, especially what does happen with your contacts or your database. Who gets to communicate going further with those people, and is there any compensation once this agreement is expired, or
under what circumstances does it terminate, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So to back it up, so what should people expect as far as like the cost, I guess you would say?
Sure. With the partnerships, that first model, I think that for the most part, that's going to be a 50-50 on all expenses and income, regardless of who's generating and working the lead. tends to be the most common. Have you seen otherwise with that?
I've seen sometimes, and often this is one of those things you look at to sort of anticipate failure within 6 months to 9 months kind of thing, is where they split all expenses, but everyone keeps their own production.
Right.
So someone's getting a lot more benefit. So you'll be 6 months in and someone's made 150 grand gross and the other person's made 50 grand because they've been helping and doing all the back end or things like that, like kind of almost being an assistant without pay.
Right.
And so then they kind of get, expectations are out of alignment. Someone will get upset that they're making more money and they're not splitting it. Same vice versa on ones where they split income. The problems we find often with that is same thing. Well, if you're splitting income, everyone's making the same, you're splitting costs, but you're a year in and someone produced 25 transactions and the other person produced 10 and was away on a bunch of holidays or, not investing the same amount of time in the business,
100%.
but they made the same income.
Yeah.
So is that fair? And
I have been personally on both sides of that, where I was the lesser contributing member on that team, and it was very demotivating for me. It made it harder for me to get up and get out there because I felt I was so behind and that I was indebted or whatever it was, like whatever was in my mind about that. And so it was demotivating. It didn't drive me. Even though I wasn't getting pressure from the team member about it. It's like, yeah, don't worry, it'll all come out. It's like, no, like we're investing a lot in these magazines where my production didn't support that at the time. Right. And then after that, the roles were reversed and I was the one that was the higher producing and the more dedicated agent. And I was saying, hey, don't worry about it. And they became deeper and deeper into a negative hole about that and not producing. So I think it's one of the tougher ones to do. You have to have a real strong bond. Family is a good one, right? And clear expectations and accountabilities for what's going out. But I think more common is the 50-50 in the cost end of things with
those tend to set up for success. So let's split all our advertising costs and like overhead and get equal benefit from that, but whatever anyone sells, they get. Right? And you divvy out leads that come off listings or come off of general advertising. That's a pretty common partnership that's set up for success.
And I think that if you're going to be, let's say it's you and I, and you're going to maybe manage the staff and do the hiring and that type of thing, or manage bookkeeping for the group, then you would get compensated for that. And that needs to be clear because that's extra work you're putting in. And, when you're starting off, that's good and everybody's fine with it. But after a while, you're going, hey, I'm doing all this damn work. I need to be compensated for that.
And that work is taking away from time I could be 100% getting commissions for.
In the second model, I would say Master-minion. I think there's probably a better term for it. But I would say that because that team lead is the rainmaker, they're providing all of the business. All of the support, they're paying all the costs, advertising, everything, that you would easily pay 50% of fees on that, but could demand to make sure you're getting a certain level of support and a certain amount of leads.
So it's almost, that one's more of almost a commission paid employee, really, where you earn your commissions on it and you get a 50-50 split on the deals that you do, but the team lead's covering all of their costs. They provide you with marketing materials, they're generating and giving you leads in business. And a big one that comes up with that is, well, how do I manage my own business? What happens if I bring a lead in?
In that situation, we can't determine the difference between where the lead was coming from. It has to be an all or nothing model. I find it very difficult because you're just going to focus your time on ones that you're getting a higher percentage on, and then the leads that I'm bringing in, you're not taking care of. So that caused conflict, right? So it has to be an all or nothing for the source. The pitfall of that model, I find, is that it is great with new agents or people that just are not really strong at generating leads.
But they're good at working with clients.
But great with clients, right? But I think that there is a shelf life for that agent and in that model. And eventually that has to change because they will get referrals, they will get repeat business, and then negatively are impacted by having to pay out 50% on those, right? And it just gets very complicated to start having to, to decide, oh, it's 30 on this one, it's 20 on this one.
Yeah, and that's where we've seen most commonly those structures go sideways. The team leaders often get the most frustrated when they churn through team members, because as soon as they're not giving enough leads, that person up and leaves. Right. And then secondly is if they, right from the get-go, we've seen it where if the structure is there, that they do 50-50 on stuff that you're sending me, but if it's my own business, I get 75% of it. Well, I'll spend all of my time, like you said, trying to get that business because I get paid more. So the structure, we know that kind of structure, even though people will go into it saying, I think this is more fair, I've already invested a lot in my database and bringing these clients over, but it really has to be 50-50 across the board. And the other side of it is they're covering all the costs. So even if it's your lead that you sourced and found, well, the team lead's covering all the costs for that.
If as a team lead in that type of environment, I'm looking at investing in this person, but I'm looking at a 1-year commitment, shelf life, and maximizing that. Anything outside of that, I think you have to do a reevaluation.
And what should a team member that joins someone on that model, how much should they expect to make in income for them if they're getting minimal costs now? Right. They have minimal costs in their business.
Obviously, it's going to depend on the strength of the team lead, and that's where you want to see where it's going and how many other agents are on that team, right? And what kind of leads are coming into the funnel, because there will be a priority order for leads. Who's closing deals is going to get the higher and better quality leads, right?
So that's a good question to ask, is sort of where's your business come from? Where do your leads come from? And what's the priority or distribution of leads if there's multiple team members?
I think typically that type of team lead will be a little bit more proprietary on where their lead sources are and what they're doing to get leads. So they might be more inclined to say, here's volume, here's what agents have done. But I think that to see 30 to 50 transactions in your first year with a team under like that is not unreasonable to expect. So that's why I say, as a new agent, no question, if I went into a new market or I was starting on real estate, I would find who's killing it in that area, and I would join their team and learn and work my ass off and do volume, because the learning curve is huge. And that investment of
and you learn through experience. So instead of your first year, you did 8 deals or 10 deals on your own, kind of struggling from deal to deal. Like you say, you do 30 deals, you get exposure to 30 different client situations. 100%. And in that model, even if you said 15 deals on your own versus 30, you make the same money. And sometimes people will say, well, I make the same money net, but it's not net because they're covering costs, et cetera. And the main benefit is learning through experience.
No question. You will soak up dialogue, systems, lead generation opportunities, things
marketing,
like that. Plus, you'll get exposed to more opportunity for referral business and repeat business going forward. I personally would go into the relationship saying, when I leave, the people that I've worked with, I'm going to communicate to them going forward. If the team lead says we are as well, I'd probably be fine with that. And then it's whoever has the better relationship, I think, going forward. I personally, it's just not my policy. I don't have a relationship with those clients, so I print off the list and say, here's your list, have a good day, right? I'm fine with that. I think there's enough world of abundance here, right? That we can all get fed.
But that is an important one to clarify up front. If you're joining a team, is what happens if you let me go from the team, or what happens if I decide after our contract period, 1 year, 2 years, that I want to leave the team? How are my clients that I worked with handled? Are they mine? Are they the team's? You clarify that up front and in writing, in an agreement.
It avoids a lot of conflict and miscommunication.
So what about the third type, where it's that collaborative type team? What if someone wants to join that kind of structure or create it? What should they expect to, I guess, get paid, or what they cost share and commission split expectations?
Sure. For me personally, it's kind of the model that I run. I like to make decisions with the group and have buy-in with that. So we have really regular meetings. We have big client appreciation party, which everybody's involved in, and they all bring their clients to. So we'll start at 35 to 40% on the first deal to the team lead. And then on the second deal or third deal in a month, yeah,
okay.
A calendar
so
month.
So it resets every month.
Yeah, on firm deals, yeah.
So and the day that they remove conditions, that's when that counts as the first deal, second deal, yeah.
Yeah, because especially right now, we're in a bit of an interesting market where deals aren't always coming together. It just makes it, hey, this is a firm deal. Yeah, if it falls apart after that, we can figure that out, right? And then I would do like a 25-30 on the second and third, and then maybe even to a 20 or 15.
So that's how much they would pay to the team, the split team to the team.
Yeah, because and for me, I know that as a team lead, if we're making sure their agents are at least doing a deal a month, right? Mm-hmm. Because they are doing a lot of their own sourcing out of business, right? That's why I'm charging a lesser percentage as well,
right?
Because they're doing more of the work generating the lead, qualifying the lead, and working them themselves.
Yeah. So expectation is for them to be generating their own business,
yes.
But you're getting the coaching, training piece, and the accountability piece, and some collaborative cost share. So like the team would pay for the client event. But that's where that money goes to.
Does,
yeah. So that's where that money that they pay to the team goes, is to pay for like general marketing, and they get the benefit of that, like the leverage benefit of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would have an expectation of volume levels, right? But I find that it's based on their model, right? So in the Master-minion, here's my model, here's what you do, this is what's happening, right? In the collaborative model, it's what is your style of business? Let's set up your business plan and figure out what business you're going after. So on my team, I have 4 agents, and they all work different markets. So some do investor for sale by owner, some do just database, some are business to business, and there's different focus, right? So we have independent strategies for each of those agents.
And it's almost like a coaching, like a one-on-one.
It's more of a coaching straight up relationship. And it works for me. I enjoy that.
Yeah, great. Well, good. So if you have questions on teams, you're wondering about joining a team, or we have several in our office. I think now we're 15 or 16 teams in our brokerage. So if you're interested to look at joining a team, feel free to reach out to us, and you can connect with Shane and ask any questions you have, and we can help even give you potential team members to meet with and chat with and see if that's a fit for you.